Hello, this is Chris Northrup with the Upper Deck for PinstripeChronicles. Welcome to our Sunday chat. I'm here with Lynn and we're going to talk Yankees baseball. We've got a ton today, and it was really hard actually paring it down.
Yes, sure. So much to talk about.
I mean, is this team good?
No, Chris, it's not good at all. It is outstanding, phenomenal, killers.
Yankee Twitter doesn't even know how to behave when things are going this good.
Really scraping the bottom of the barrel to be negative.
I know.
You're managing.
There's a few that manage, especially the Hicks talk. Everything is very negative Hicks, negative Gallo. So those are still floating around out there. But the Yankees as a team, they are kicking butt. And one stat that I tripped over while I was on Twitter, that the Yankees have a 127 weighted runs created plus as a team. That's the highest team WRC plus since 1884.
Yeah.
1884. We're just talking records that have been, that are being dusted off right now.
So history, like since the beginning of pre-Yankees.
Yeah.
Pre-Brooklyn Dodgers.
Exactly.
All our other iterations, Highlanders.
Yeah. This team is beating that.
Ever. Among all the greatness across all these decades and hundreds of years.
It's kind of scary.
It's kind of great.
Kind of great. The Yankees also lead in WOBA, OPS, and home runs. So this team is cooking on all cylinders. Definitely our top two are Stanton and Judge. They are powering the drive, and I don't know who you want to start with. Doesn't matter.
Let's go with Stanton because it's always Judge.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. So first thing I want to note about Judge, other than the obvious, is that I'm liking how he is also managing swings that, they all almost leave the park. But it's been nice to see him in situations, and not just this week, because I think I remarked on it last show, where he's getting those, extra base hits.
Yeah.
And so, he's become more versatile in that way, which I think really helps in a couple of ways. The first thing that comes to mind is it really helps with the fear of RISP, because when, a top of the lineup hitter makes the base and stays there, the odds are greater that the guy following him are going to advance him. And so while our top of the order tend to be the power hitters, that it's really not anything of concern. In fact, I consider it a positive.
Right.
That happens, because then the odds are greater of a multi-run outcome.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And Judge is first with 12 home runs. At least he was. Now, when I put my notes together, I don't know if somebody pulled ahead overnight, maybe Trout, probably. But no, I think Judge is he's second in the AL, and Stanton is 12th. Judge is first, let's see, with home runs as of Saturday morning. Stanton is tied for third with 10. Stanton has 6 RBIs Thursday night, which is an amazing stunt. He went 3 for 4 with 2 home runs. And I don't know what my note is here about Judge being second. We'll just skip that. I don't have a reference to what that is, but he's first with home runs, and Stanton is tied for third with 10. And right. Rizzo is up there too.
He's in fifth.
He's fifth. Okay. Yeah. Both sluggers homered Friday night when we had the 10-4 win over the White Sox. It's unbelievable when the two of them are on.
Yes. And especially since, when Stanton is DHing, that means that usually then it's Judge and Stanton in the same half inning. And so
Yeah.
And speaking of stacking the bases for either one of them, or when they do it themselves, I'm liking that they are sticking recently to DJ leading off.
Yes.
Because we know that DJ's home run numbers are nowhere near top of the league. I'm not sure where he lands.
Actually, I don't know, but I've got some numbers from that. Do you know Yankee Mandela on Twitter?
I do.
Yeah. He wrote that DJ, in games where DJ leads off, the Yankees are 12-2. In games Hicks leads off, they are 6-3. I don't know what you want to make of that, but and also DJ is way ahead in the statistically over Hicks hitting leadoff. I could rattle off the numbers, but you get it.
Yeah, I do get it. And so Hicks 6-3 tells me that people need to slow their roll on bastardizing him.
Right.
And extend their memory a little bit more to the long term.
Yeah.
Rather than game by game reaction, because there was a lot of hit stuff flying around the past two games.
Definitely. And I think in defense of I'm not anti-Hicks, but I get it. Mostly because I don't think there's anything to be done about Hicks. So therefore, I just don't think about him if I can help it until he really, unless he makes a boner move, I don't think about Hicks. But people are tired of hearing that he and Gallo are valuable because they walk. They have the high on base percentage. And, who finds that exciting to watch?
Nobody finds it exciting to watch, but they do find it exciting when it helps with outcomes.
You're right. I know. You're right. I'm just being
and valid.
Yankee fan.
I still have my Gardy argument on autoplay. I was able to insert it conveniently here. But to your point, I'm really liking, at least defensively, Judge and center, Stanton right, and Gallo at left. I mean, that's the outfield you want.
Right.
Defensively. But the trade-off is Gallo at the plate.
Yeah.
Although Gallo did take it out of the park yesterday. Was that yesterday or Saturday? I mean, Friday.
Yeah. And supposedly Gallo's hitting .320 with a .974 OPS over his last 9 games. So he's improving. He's getting on base. I do remember him getting a hit yesterday. Yes. I can't remember if he knocked it over the fence or not, but
it might have been Friday when I couldn't watch because Prime. But I think maybe it might have been. It was Friday.
Right.
Yeah, definitely Friday, because I was like, oh man, I missed it.
I know.
Yeah, but so those numbers alone, and again, we could argue, okay, that's today.
Right.
But given that he's been consistently in the lineup, as opposed to Hicks, for example.
Right.
Look, slow your roll on Gallo just a little bit.
Right.
So
I think that my argument about Hicks goes for Gallo too, in a way, because for me, I mean, Gallo, I never saw the point. I did not think Gallo was any big deal when he was in Texas. And since when the Yankees brought him in and told us he was a big deal, I thought, huh? But I mean, I know that was because of the power and the on-base percentage. But since he's been here, I have rarely said, wow.
Yeah. Rarely said wow, especially at the plate.
Right.
Where you see the wow Oh, that's a lot of tongue twisting possibilities.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. um, is, I've said wow more than once in the field for him.
Okay.
He made a diving catch yesterday that was beautiful.
Okay.
That you
give
would
him
not
that.
have seen Hicks make.
Right.
But again, it's half of the pie. And will only get you so far.
Right.
But really, Judge and Stanton are sort of anomalies.
They are. They're unicorns.
We really haven't had, yeah. And somebody said that recently.
Probably Michael K.
Michael K did, right. We don't get that often. We haven't had that often at all.
No. In fact, I've got another some handy numbers. Through the club's first 32 games, both hitters have double digits in home runs, Judge with 12 and Stanton with 10, something that hasn't been accomplished for the Yankees since 1956.
Right.
So that now, I mean, it's just so exciting to see the history books getting dusted off.
When you think about the Yankee greats from the 60s alone.
I know.
That's staggering.
Yep. It says Judge and Stanton joined Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. Babe with 14, Lou with 10 from 1930, and Mickey Mantle, 16, and Yogi Berra, 12 from 1956, as the only pair of teammates in franchise history to have 10-plus homers in 32 games. So that's really elite company.
And to me, like, Stanton and Judge are right in line with Ruth and Gehrig in the numbers that you gave.
Right.
They're not far off in that way. So Stanton's essentially Gehrig and Judge is Ruth.
Yeah. I mean, history is definitely getting a new look right now, as these guys are just tearing it up every night. And like you said, it's not just the home runs either that are making Judge and Stanton so exciting to watch. Judge is hitting clutch. I mean, he walked off with a 3-run homer the other night, his first of his career.
Yep.
I mean, of course, that doesn't make my argument. My argument is he's getting on base with singles, doubles. He's not just hitting the home runs.
Right.
So, yeah.
But that's a great segue into that, though. Really, you did mean it. I
did it
right?
Backwards.
You meant that because it is worth noting that they actually both have, gotten on base, and because of who they are and their power swings, multi-base hits.
Right.
And, it's the same thing I said earlier about liking them in proximity to each other is, when Judge gets that 2 double base hit, and then Stanton comes up, the odds of Judge scoring are incrementally higher.
Right.
You have and the same then for Stanton with the guy behind him, which is often Rizzo.
Yeah.
And so you increase the odds of more runs that way, perhaps.
Yeah.
But rather than, how often, and I don't know the stats of how often are they solo homers versus, multiple run homers. But there is nothing wrong with those clutch power, break the windows across the street home runs.
Right.
It can, you just have to rely on the teams down the order, the people down the order from you to advance you.
Yeah.
RISP is not the acronym we want, but we clearly own it.
Right.
But it reduces the odds of that
when
they do that small ball.
Right.
Yeah.
Friday night was a great game. Cole got the win. It was kind of a sloppy game. We were talking before we recorded about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. He's had a rough couple of days, both in the field, I think, and a little bit at the plate too. What do you think?
Definitely lukewarm at the plate compared to what we have been getting in other series. And last night there were a couple of, really bad base running moves from IKF, and, basically trying to advance to the next bag for what he explained his reasons for them, but, really were not smart maneuvers. And after the game, and this is important to note because it's what you want to hear a Yankee say, in one scenario in particular, when he tried to advance himself to second, he acknowledged that it was a, quote, bonehead move on his part. And he already knows what Boone is going to say to him, and he should say that to him, and he takes full accountability for it, and he won't do it again.
Yeah,
and,
you're right.
And how many times last season, Chris, did I scream the word accountability?
Right. Absolutely.
And so, say what you want about IKF. He's going to slump. Everyone's going to slump.
Right.
The fact that he made 2 bonehead moves on the bat means he got on the base twice.
That's true.
And so he'll break out and he'll figure it out.
He will.
But bottom line is, that is the mentality you want.
Right. It is the mentality.
Take ownership of the what you should be taking ownership of.
Right.
Instead of explaining away or blaming this or that.
Yeah.
So I give him, a lot of respect for that.
I give him a lot of respect for that too. I think that is the, to be a Yankee in New York and with the media, if you're going to be successful, you're going to be you're going to be that way. Otherwise, the media is just going to rip you to shreds every time.
Yeah.
But, not only the base running, but he's made some errors in the field. And Friday night, he made an error that with Cole pitching, that Cole kind of stared him down. I know you said you had a little trouble getting the game Friday night, but Cole kind of stared him down. And then later in the game, you saw Cole go up to him and give him the fist bump like, hey, I got you, dude, because it didn't end up, I think, costing them. But so, he's learning on the run. He's had some rough times, but it looks like he's got the support of his teammates around him.
And maybe that's due to, what I saw for him last night in post game.
Right.
That he doesn't throw his mitt down and curse somebody else out or the situation out, it seems.
Right.
And, I would never want to be on the other end of a stare down from Cole.
Yeah, no.
That brings me back to my Catholic school nun interactions.
That would reduce me to ashes.
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Although, not to brag, but I'm pretty good at the stare downs as well. So I'd like an okay corral situation with me and Cole. Especially if he tries to start that with me. But,
right.
When your teammate and, essentially, one of the highest valued members of the team and the ace, and you're a first season up Yankee.
Right.
Yeah. That would be a motivator. It would either be a motivator or, like you said, a weed killer.
Yeah. Well, everybody got a little down on IKF.
Yeah.
And then we hear we could have had Correa. That starts coming out again. But, I looked up, I decided to compare. I didn't compare offensively, but I did look at defensive stats. And of the top 3, Correa, Seager, Story. And IKF is right there with them. He's got 5 errors and 1 defensive run saved on the season. Correa has 3 errors and 1 defensive run saved.
Okay.
Seager has 4, 1 defensive run saved. Story 3 errors, and he's a -2 defensive runs saved. So Story is, probably at the bottom of the list right now. But IKF is right up there with the best of the
Yes,
bunch.
that's right. So there should be no buyer's remorse there.
There should not be.
And this is coming from 2 women who were right in that Correa story, protest.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to eat crow on that.
Yeah. I wanted Correa in the worst way. And I can't say that I'm satisfied with IKF yet, because things like we're just talking about, he's not smooth. He's not, he doesn't come off as the smooth veteran, seasoned, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But that doesn't mean that he's not going to have a fine season and that the Yankees aren't going to win. They obviously are, and he's obviously going to improve as the season goes on, I believe.
Right. And
he'll be consistent with what he's doing.
Right. And I think from a personal angle, the last time IKF and I spoke, I could talk at a personal level, you see. But seriously, in the context of him being up for the first time with the Yankees, who he has, been a fan of from birth, essentially.
Yeah.
And to finally be in hallowed ground with the legendary Yankees, that in itself, no matter how professional you are and what your job is,
right,
as he very well showed last night with the press, I would imagine that, I think we're on the verge of it's not settled down time anymore, but I think he'll get there.
I think he will.
This isn't like moving him, to a less performing team or a less legendary team. So right. I think so far he's, deserves to still be in the stripes, and yep. We'll see how it goes. Yep. And it could have been much worse. And, hindsight is we wouldn't be getting bigger benefits from Seager, Story, or Correa.
No, we wouldn't. And Correa's hurt even. He didn't go on the IL, but I know he had a hurt finger.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know how productive. But as I say, I didn't compare them offensively. But actually, offensively, I haven't really had that much problem with IKF until just recently.
Right.
His numbers have dipped. But that's probably very temporary.
Right. And we're seldom going to see him hit it out of the park.
Seldom, right.
Yeah. But he has certainly been doing his job until recently.
Right.
And, I expect him to be exactly that guy that's going to, get on the bag and hopefully not be stranded there. I think that's going to be his consistent role.
Yeah.
Or to advance guys on the bag that are already there.
Right.
And what we're talking about in terms of shortstop, we could also say in terms of first base. I don't have the numbers. I don't know if you do about Olsen, but Rizzo is a far improved offensive guy than last year.
Right.
Which was our biggest, I think, complaint about him more than anything.
Yeah.
And so we did fine keeping him.
Yeah.
Also, in retrospect.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy with the Yankee team that we have now, that they're fielding right now.
Yes.
But is that the team that I thought, or that I wished we were fielding maybe? Maybe not 100%. But, right. But I guess I'd have to say that IKF has come up and done a journeyman's job for us, and the mistakes that we're talking about him making are anomalies, that he's certainly not a sloppy player, etc. I expect that we'll see a tighter ship from him going forward.
100%. And I already expect to see a difference from him today in terms of being judicious on the base and when to
Yes.
try to advance.
Yep.
He's a quick learner, I think.
Well, the next thing we want to switch to is starting pitching.
Yeah.
I want to take a look at that. It seems that, nothing stands out to me where I want to go, God, did you see what happened on, to so-and-so, like in a bad way. The pitching has been consistently good, consistently interesting. They kept us right in there every day, even though we didn't end up with the win yesterday. Starting pitching has been everything you could hope for.
100%. And it's so nice to say that in more than one episode.
Yes, it is.
It's a story.
Yeah, exactly. And last week I read some stats from Max Goodman, and he ran the same thing this week, and I still think it's interesting. 6 trips through the Yankees rotation, and Nestor has a 1.41 ERA. Next on the list, and I didn't update this from yesterday. So yesterday, Monty was second with a 2.90. Cole with a 2.95. I had to updated his. Tyone with a 2.93 ERA, and Severino with a 4.0 ERA. All respectable, all with the exception of Severino's higher than you want, but he'll bring that down. I have no doubt about that. And Nestor continues to just be amazing.
And although, Chris, we were talking before we taped this morning, we were wondering why not Tyone today.
Yeah.
They skipped him for some reason. I haven't heard any comment on that.
No.
And nothing against Tyone, because he is a better Tyone than last season. And the numbers are proving that out. And I wouldn't want anyone else, frankly, on the mound than Nestor today.
I agree.
He's our best chance at leaving 3-1 instead of tied.
Right.
We didn't get the sweep we want, but I'm just so glad he's there, and that the apples he's eating continue to cause.
Could Nestor be an all-star, for God's sakes? I mean, he one-hit the Rangers. He flirted with a no-hitter the last time out. Yeah. I think he's going to be an all-star.
If he's continuing as he is, there'd be a mutiny if he's not selected for the all-star game.
Absolutely.
Then I'll talk about voter fraud.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
You and I were talking beforehand too about the run support that Monty gets. Because it was a big topic yesterday on the pregame show, etc. Because it's so true that Monty, or at least to the eye test, it looks like Monty doesn't get the run support. But if you run the numbers, it's actually true.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And of course, on Twitter, the conspiracy theories abound on that. Like, what's the agenda?
Right.
Are the players, united in not, performing when Monty's like, all right, guys, I hope all 1,000 of you had your tongue firmly in your cheek.
Right.
When you said that. That's just ridiculous. But yeah, it's a weird thing. And yesterday, look what it cost us. I mean, Monty left with, us being in a shutout situation.
Yeah.
And he made it through 5, but on the plus side, after those 2 early runs, he held that. And so, I know that there was, I know Kay was talking about this, that, it was very obvious that he wasn't using his full bag of tricks, that his curveball was basically missing in action.
Yeah.
So he seemed to have some command issues. And I think that never helps. And it also helps, help the White Sox they come in knowing the 3 pitches that Monty relies on.
Right.
Notice very quickly that the curve is missing. And so, they were already prepared for what's going to make contact for them.
Right.
And so again, we're lucky that it was held at 2.
Yeah.
Which really, I think is a plus for Monty.
Oh, yeah.
And unlike what you would see from other starting pitchers, one of them rhymes with ball. Monty didn't get thrown by that early on, situation.
Yeah.
And so I consider that like a one-off. And in terms of the offense, I won't get into any player's head on that.
Yeah, there's just it doesn't make sense why it happens, but it's a full run and a half less for Monty than for the next person, next runs, support that the pitcher gets. He certainly is not, it's not a myth, it's real. But why that happens, nobody knows.
Inexplicable. And it can't be explained.
No, it's one of those things like the Cubs and the goat, or the curse
Right.
or something. I guess Monty has some kind of curse on him, which we need Joba or something to break the curse. I don't know what would do it, but and not only, but as good as the starting pitching has been, we've had a little breakdown in some of the relief roles.
Yes, for sure. Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Well, I'll just say Loizaga to start with is disappointing. He's been disappointing this season. And however, his ERA is coming down a little bit, but he's still, when he was in the other day, he was still ineffective.
Yeah. And early on in the season, I know that we discussed that, he could potentially be our new closer at some point.
Yep.
And I'm not letting go of that, but yeah, there is a concern. He has stuff to figure out, but I think he'll figure it out. And maybe this incremental, ERA improvement.
Yeah.
Will continue. The other one, of course, is Green, who we weren't as high on ever, or in recent memory,
right?
As opposed to Johnny Lowe. But Green in this series has been, a real disappointment.
Yeah, I think just again from the eye test, like just thinking over past performances with Green, I found him disappointing this year. He's not sharp or comes in and has the confidence and that sharpness that is his hallmark. He's not on top of it like he was when he's successful.
Yeah.
Is he dulling? I don't know, but maybe he needs to have a even lower leverage role than he has now.
Right.
Maybe like long relief.
Right. Yeah, he's not the guy you want to save a situation that you're pulling the starting pitcher for.
No. In fact,
that guy.
Yeah. In fact, who is the guy that you would want in to save in a safe situation? I'm asking. I'm serious.
Well, it's a serious question, and that's the harder question to ask than the late inning guys. But I would say it is hard.
Yeah. Chapman, let's just bring up the elephant in the room.
Why don't we go backwards and work our way in then?
Yeah.
So starting with Chapman, Twitter was a fire, has been every time, he's essentially been in. But and we've talked about it ad nauseum on our show.
Yeah.
But I just want to bring in a couple of tweets from Yankee fans themselves who like to do that.
Oh, yeah.
So Mike Salvatore who's at Mike Salvatore 10, by the way. If you don't follow him, just do it. He's a good follow.
Yeah.
With great takes on things.
Good Yankee man.
Very good Yankee man. Knows his pizza. So he said last night, ironic that the person making it the hardest for Aroldis Chapman to win a World Series with the Yankees is, in fact, Aroldis Chapman. And you know, that is more than spot on.
That hits it on the head.
That is essentially what we've been saying, is that he gets in his own way. He is completely in his head. We saw it last night with the first batter in the bottom of the ninth, you know, getting on. And you just knew then, oh, there goes the ball game. Because it totally threw him off. He ridiculously kept throwing to first to keep Anderson on the bag. And there was really no sign that Anderson, and why would Anderson be risking tagged out at the bottom of the ninth when they're trying to do a walk-off?
Right.
But that was him, you know, trying to reverse his own doing and prove to everybody I'll get him one way or another.
Right.
And that was just, you know, not the thinking of a strategic pitcher having a larger goal of the win.
Right.
Your psyche.
Yeah.
So that was one that I think was very, very good comment. And then Ryan Garcia, let me give you his because he's another great follow.
Yeah.
That's at Ryan Garcia, ESM, Emily, Sam, Matthew. At Ryan Garcia, ESM says, and here's some numbers for you. Aroldis Chapman has walked 36 batters in his last 42.2 innings, going back to June 21.
That hurts me.
It hurts physically.
Yes.
And it's maddening. This is not a pitcher who can be in big spots of a baseball game.
No.
And he's putting in front of Chapman, Holmes, Green, who we just spoke about, King, and Peralta. That's your 7 through 9 inning guys. Lutke, Schmidt, Castro are the middle relief, and Lowe will figure it out. So off the bat, I'm going to say I do disagree for the reasons we just talked about Green. And Peralta, I'm disagreeing more than agreeing. There's a lot left to be proven there.
Yeah.
But we've said this more than once, Chris. Holmes and King are really to look at, and some quick decisions are likely in order here on that. And he says, which we also just talked about, Lowe will figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, but how long do we give Lowe to figure it out? And to further,
is this a dumb question? How long is Britton out for the whole season?
I don't. It's not a dumb question because we haven't gotten, you know, any update on that.
Yeah.
Which
I just wondered if there was any, like, if he will figure it all into things down the road.
Yeah, I think right now he's not part of the equation because we really don't have any progress update on him.
I gotta look that up.
Remember, at one point it was June that we were expecting him back.
Okay, if that's so.
Correctly, which is always a risk.
Right.
We're close to that.
Yeah.
But something else interesting related to what we were just talking about. Here are the other numbers Ryan gave us. Yankee relievers noted walk issues this year. So I'll start with the worst. Anyone want to guess?
Yeah.
Aroldis Chapman, 17.3%.
You're not going to win. You're not going to win games with that.
You're getting runners on base, you know, base on balls
Yeah.
Miguel Castro, 15.1. Johnny Lowe, 14.3.
Yeah.
And to prove me a little bit wrong, Peralta, 11.0.
Okay.
And surprisingly, based on what everyone's been saying recently, Litke at 9.1.
Okay.
So a little bit of a vote for Litke, although
Yep.
how dynamic these numbers are.
Right. But, so many people on Twitter, and I had to agree, said, I mean, just plain, Chapman can't be the closer on this team anymore. He just can't be.
No, I mean, and that's not opinion. That's statistically verified.
Right. So, we have a Chapman problem. I guess we're going to start, we have to win the games 10-5 from now on to make up for our Chapman problem.
Right.
So,
meanwhile, the stock market for anti-acid.
Every time he comes on.
It's like the Yankee fans are going for the Zantac, Rolaids, Nexiums.
Right.
Because even before he throws anything, we're knots in stomachs and.
Right. Just seeing him warm up makes me reach for the Tums.
Yeah, exactly. So either he's like, getting money from those corporations. Yeah, it's unfortunate. And yet fans are fortunate that he's the only one doing that to us right now.
Yeah.
Really. We could say the same about some of the guys we talked about on the offense, but he's really the one making us sick.
I think the last thing I have on my slate for today is our conversation about the leadoff hitter, how we've been enjoying DJ leading off lately as opposed to Hicks. And I know that I like to see DJ leading off the game. That gives me a lot of confidence that there's going to be someone on base consistently for the big guys to knock in.
I agree. And last season, he was number 2 in the category of pass me the Nexium.
He was.
But now we have the explanation for it.
Yeah.
And so I have residual guilt about that. But you're, 100%. He is the guy you want there.
Yeah.
And it's also been a comfort that it seems to me like the lineup is much more consistent.
Yes.
And that's been, a unanimous complaint.
Yeah.
Beyond the two of us.
Right. In fact, in the games DJ leads off, the Yankees are 12-2. And in the games Hicks leads off, they are 6-3. So, I mean, they're both when they lead off, we win. But we are certainly winning with a greater margin with DJ, although that's not the highest consideration, I suppose.
Well, it has to be a significant consideration. And, also just statistically, DJ has led off more games than Hicks has.
Right.
So for him to have those numbers as compared to Hicks's numbers.
That's true.
Also, shows that it really does need to be DJ.
It really does.
Yeah. Hicks needs to go lower and lower down the order.
Yeah, Hicks is a question mark right now. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the season plays out for Aaron Hicks. Is he a Yankee at the end of 2022? I mean, is there any chance that Hicks goes somewhere in a trade at the deadline for a closer maybe, or I don't know.
I think it will depend on a couple of things. One of them being where Gallo's numbers rest.
Right.
Because I'm loving the Gallo Judge Stanton combination in the field. And that's where we get half of the pie with Gallo. That really helps us.
That's right.
I can't remember if I said this when we spoke on our own, Chris, or on this episode, but then it'll bear repeating if I
Yes.
said it earlier. He made a really good catch yesterday, a diving catch that, I think fairly Hicks, we wouldn't have been guaranteed. I think Gallo has the athleticism over Hicks.
Yeah.
I also think that Hicks is going to come nowhere near his 30-30-30 goal.
No, he's not.
No. So I'm not even confident about 7-7-7 at this point. But so I would hope that Hicks gets traded away as a part of a package.
Yeah.
So they gave him a second chance. It's time to let him go, unless something miraculous happens, and Mother Superior is always open to miracles.
Exactly. Something good we mean, not like an injury. We don't want that to happen.
Oh, no. Like,
God forbid.
Hey, get that 30-30, boy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really sensibly still is time. So grab that miracle. But,
I think that despite losing yesterday, the Yankees can still, take this series today behind Nestor. And he's probably their best chance to do that. Right.
I'm hoping that the White Sox are a little bit sleepy today.
Yeah.
It's a day game following a night game. Maybe they're a little tired. And hopefully ours, slept soundly. But yeah, I think it starts off with Nestor. The lineup wasn't out when we started recording. I bet it is by now, or shortly. So we'll see. I'm hoping to see Hicks out of the lineup again. I'm assuming Trevino will replace Higgy.
Probably.
And catch 22-ish, but I'd prefer Trevino.
Yeah.
And I think Trevino and Nestor have been fine together. I hope that Nestor has his, favorite apples.
Yeah, plenty of them.
Plenty of them. So, yeah, I think that nobody wants 2-2.
Nope.
This is the 4th place White Sox. At least that's where they were coming in.
Yep.
And their team average was in the 400s.
Right.
Series somewhere.
So it's like, beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
That's right.
And do the job, to finish the job today. That's what I've got.
Yesterday we were owned by Keiko.
Yes.
Who has an over 6 ERA. So no, don't let that happen. Why did that happen? And it's not because of Monty.
No.
Just gonna keep stressing that. Exactly. So not good.
Not good.
And but it's gonna be Groundhog Day, Chris, as you know, going into this week, because we have the Orioles for the next 3, and then we're back with the White Sox.
So I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse, because the Orioles have been winning too, right?
They have.
I think they've been doing some winning. So there's no guarantees. You got to beat the teams you got to beat.
Baseball, like life, has no guarantees.
That's right.
And the Orioles owned us the first time we met them. Second time was better. Third time better be the charm.
Yeah.
No matter what, we're facing the White Sox, having not swept them. And, winning the series is going to make a big mental difference over tying.
I agree.
For the White Sox and their mentality. So,
so
we'll see how happy we are in the evening.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. That's all I've got today. I want to say thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. We are so happy that you've joined us for another week of Yankee Conversation. Lynn, any final thoughts on your part?
Don't forget, sharing is caring. So when you see our episode drop, share the beauty, share the wisdom, share the fandom. And yes, as Chris said, all those things. But what we really would like to have is your comments, your feedback. You know, when that tweet drops with our YouTube link, tell us what you think.
Yeah.
And because we need that, a reminder that this podcast is unique, not only because it's two women talking, I might say, wisely and knowledgeably. It's also a podcast specifically for you. And without your input, we're not reaching our mission. So that's a little plug plea there.
Yeah.
But ending as we always do, see you next Sunday, where you'll always have a reserved seat with Chris and me right here on the upper deck. Let's go!
Go Yankees!